I just pressed start.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CT CTE Wellness Gathering. My name is Nicole Martone, and I'm an English teacher at Danbury High School. And Julie Sohaki joins me today. She's the Program Director for Secondary English Education at the University of Hartford. Our objectives today are to identify your top strengths, to engage authentically, overcome challenges, and create a life aligned with your values, and to support your students in embracing their top strengths and self awareness through SEL practices in the classroom.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Let's start off by taking a look at University of Pennsylvania's resilience skill set. There are 6 overarching pillars that make up this resilience skill set. Today, we're going to be looking at 2 of these, self-awareness and characters of strength. We're going to start off with characters of strength, which is basically the ability to use your top strengths to engage authentically, overcome challenges, and create a life aligned with your values. So we hope through this exercise today that you'll leave here with your top 5 strengths that you can then use in your everyday life to help you live a more authentic life, to overcome challenges, and then to create a life aligned with your values. Finally, before we end today, Nicole will talk to us about self awareness, the ability to pay attention to your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and those physiological reactions. So, starting off with strengths of character, we all have them, and we're using the VIA Strengths Character Inventory. You can find more at viacharacter.org. I'll be leading you through the character inventory so that you can really take a look at what your top strengths are. So, we all have strengths, yet they're all very different. And this inventory is something that I really value because it says to us here are 24 strengths. We all have these strengths in varying degrees. So it's not that some of us just don't have them at all. But as you look through the inventory, you will immediately notice and gravitate towards certain strengths. And so those are the ones that you should write down. So if you have an electronic by your side where you can type, or a piece of paper or pencil or pen, as we get closer to really looking at this inventory, that will help you. But first, I'd like to tell you a story about how I used my strengths. I'm climbing a mountain with my boys. It's a beautiful day. We drove 45 minutes across Connecticut to get to Salisbury, Connecticut, which is in the northwest corner in Litchfield County, and we're climbing Bear Mountain. Well, 2 teenage boys, they're running right up that mountain, and I'm kind of left in the dust. And so I thought about it for a moment. Why don't I just kind of take an inventory of my strengths and use one of my strengths to help me get up that mountain? And so as I did that, I noticed that it was such a beautiful day. There were clouds in the sky, but they were just the breeze was blowing ever so slightly. And there were so many green leaves on the tree. Now, this was a place that we've been to multiple times. So I even am showing you part of the trail in the winter. It's a beautiful place to take a hike. And so in that moment, I felt so grateful to be there and so grateful to be there with my family. And so it was actually the strength of gratitude that helped me get to the top of the mountain. And this is a view from the top. And so, why I tell you this is because this can be an unlikely strength for some people, gratitude. But for me, it made perfect sense. And that is what got me up to the mountain. Now, when I got to the top, my boys were almost finished eating lunch, but I didn't care because I felt so blessed to have made it up there and to be able to take some pictures and some selfies with them. And so I'd like you to think about this story as you're choosing your strengths because they could be unlikely. Another strength that probably got me up the mountain was zest. And zest is that enthusiasm and love of life. And I always like to pair 2 of my strengths together. I call them a superpower. And zest and gratitude together for me is so powerful. So I just wanted to let you know that because as you're starting to choose yours, you can actually start to pair them up as well. So as we look at these strengths, I'll go through them slowly. Just notice if you're really gravitating towards one of these. Many times we think of, what is our weakness or having that negative self talk playing in the background. So instead, we're inviting you today to take a look at something really positive, what you can do well, and what you do bring to the table every day in your work life, in your home life. Um, and now we're simply naming them. And so for this first batch, which the VIA character calls virtue of wisdom, we have creativity, curiosity, judgment, love of learning, and perspective. So just really notice which of these calls out to you and feel free to actually write more than five and then narrow it down to five. Some virtues of courage, bravery, perseverance, honesty, and zest. So zest was one of the strengths that got me up the mountain. Having that enthusiasm for life or vigor. But some people would have thought it was perseverance, but it really wasn't. But that's another virtue that is very close because all of these require courage, just like bravery and honesty do as well. So we're going to move on to three more virtues of humanity: love, kindness, and social intelligence. And that's really showing empathy and being aware of our own feelings and thoughts. So maybe one of these resonates with you. If so, go ahead and write it down. Virtues of justice, teamwork, fairness, leadership. And leadership is also about setting a good example, modeling for our students, modeling for our colleagues, and just for our whole community. Virtues of temperance, forgiveness, humility, prudence, being very cautious and careful, and self regulation. And then virtues of transcendence, appreciation of beauty and excellence, gratitude, which, as I said, is one of mine, hope, humor, and spirituality. And so at this point, feel free to pause if you would like to figure out what your top strengths are. We have them listed here for you so you can look at them again to make your final decisions. So if you'd like to pause right here so you can see all of the strengths at once, please do. And then we'll continue to move on.
So as teachers, we can incorporate some practical applications on these virtues and strengths, character strengths in the classroom. And so what I have done with my students is include some SEL activities this year that allow them to identify some of the virtues and strengths that they encompass and that they value the most. There is a Jamboard activity that I've had my students do where they look at this chart from via character.org. And so the virtues are aligned as a column, and then the strengths, as Julia has shown you for each, are included. And so for this particular do now, I asked them to pick one virtue and character strength from the list that represents who they are the most. And they may feel that they encompass many of them. Some of them may be undeveloped too. So showing them all of the options will allow them to recognize what they are and hopefully help them build them into their resiliency skill set. So I put an example for myself that I have wisdom because I have a love of learning, and they all use the Jamboard to add their own examples. And so, what I hope to do with this is to even build it into what they're learning. So, with the next example, they can have an exit ticket that they complete where they can identify a virtue and strength that they can see in the characters, that they can connect to the themselves and other pieces of literature, as well as things that are happening in the real world. So they recently read the New Colossus. And so for this example, the student talks about how he or she had bravery coming to a new school in a new district, in a new city, not knowing anyone or having any friends. So that took some courage and bravery to meet new people. And the student connected this to the Gettysburg Address reading that was recently done, where Lincoln speaks to the soldiers about needing courage and bravery to continue their efforts with the Civil War. And then the student connected the virtues and strengths to what's going on currently with the pandemic, that educators and students are courageous and brave coming to school so that they can have a sense of normalcy in this time of a pandemic. So having them trace these virtues and strengths in what they're learning can really help them make connections, not just with the literature, but with themselves and with things that are going on in the real world. The next set of examples go along with just having them become more self-aware as SEL activities. So I have a couple do now activities here that I do with my students. So I often do these Jamboard check-ins, and I have them share what image they mostly identify with that morning. So this one includes images of Oprah, and they select the number and the reason, include their name. This ensures that everyone's participating, so I know if there's anyone missing, I can call on them by seeing the list of names in the breakout room, for example. And then I have a conversation with them if they're tired, just encouraging them to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. If they're stressed, I hear that at times too, emphasizing the importance of sleep and rest and managing their time more effectively. So this does allow me to give them some helpful strategies that can help them become more resilient during this difficult time. And the next one is a mood meter check-in. And this is from the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. And they look at this mood meter and they can tell me what mood they are in and why, briefly. And it also include their name. And just like I did with the Oprah one, with the images, we can talk about the strategies that can be effective to help them not feel as frustrated or as drained, or things that perhaps they need to improve if they're fatigued. And there is a link on the presentation for some other strategies that are recommended from this Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. And as you look at this link, it's really helpful because, for example, if a student's in the green and feeling cooperative or peaceful, calm, safe, relaxed, the student can try listening to upbeat music and standing up to get some blood flowing, or take a walk to boost energy, to get some fresh air. or use self-talk to remind him or herself of something that inspires him or her, okay? If a student's in the red, feeling irritated, angry, frustrated, stressed, anxious, the student can try going for a walk, again, listening to music, taking a few slow, deep breaths to clear his or her head, calm his or her body. Again, use self-talk to help improve the mood. If a student's in the blue, feeling sad, discouraged, disappointed, depressed, bored, again, the student can try to listen to music or talking to a friend or having a snack or using self-talk to remind him or herself of the big picture, trying to be positive and reframe the situation. Some strategies for feeling moods in the yellow. If the student's feeling happy, motivated, energetic, productive, excited, etc., try turning, one of your meetings into a walking meeting to use some energy, or taking slow, deep breaths, listening to calm music, moving to a workspace where the student can be alone. So there are some strategies that can be suggested to help improve the student's mood. So I also include some blank copies here for you so that you can implement these right away, which I know is always helpful for us busy teachers. And the next slide is our closing slide. We are so glad that you came and joined us today. Thank you so much for being here. We are an organization that wants to continue to create connections and join different people from all over the state together as part of our community. If you'd like to join CTCTE, please let us know. Visit our website. We're always welcoming new members and people who can get involved in our different committees that we have on the board. And have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care.